Hello and welcome to another episode of the Contractor Grow Show. My name is Mark. I'm your host, and today I'm speaking with Greg Culver at Pua Lani Landscape Design in Kailua, Hawaii. They're on the beautiful island of Oahu. Greg, thanks so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's awesome.
Yeah, so you guys are in an incredible place. You guys have been doing this for a long, long time. The family's involved. I'm really interested to hear and just kind of start with the history of the business and where things are at today.
Yeah, well, I started about 1981. It'd be probably a lot harder to do these days than back then, but I just started knocking on doors and, it's hard to go to someone's door and say, your yard doesn't look nice. I'm here to help you.
Right.
And you would get probably 10 or 12 doors slammed in your face, but then you'd get one and you do something. And then the neighbor across the street would say, hey, come look at my yard or whatever. And that's literally how I started, by myself with a pick and shovel and a beat up old truck. I had a 67 Volkswagen Bug that I loved, and I sold that to kind of fund my beat up old truck and picks and shovels and a wheelbarrow. And that's how I started. Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Man, that is amazing. And these days, tell me about the services that you guys offer.
Well, we're a complete design build firm. We have an architect on staff, landscape architect. We do our main thing is high-end residential, and then we do commercial also, but we do a lot of, in Hawaii, we're kind of lucky. We can work year round, and there's a lot of Fortune 500 people that have second and third homes here, Hollywood people. So we kind of targeted that market because, you're not having quite the fluctuations that you do with more commercial as well as even more moderate homes. Money and the economy affects them a lot more. So we targeted that. And, one of the benefits too, we meet people that we would never normally meet, guys that you see on TV or the Wall Street Journal, and then you're having a beer with them. So it's kind of cool. Yeah. That's a side benefit,
Yeah, right.
So it's
fun. And so full spectrum design, installation, kind of landscape maintenance, also doing hardscaping.
Yeah, we do hardscaping, we build waterfalls and sort of all of that. And if it's, we have really good subs we've worked with for decades. So if it's something really large or like a pool, for instance, we'll work with the design and then we'll have a pool builder build the pool and things like that. So yeah, we do all those things. And then maintenance is a big part too, because it's, in the 80s over here, there was a big, if you remember, the Japanese were really buying up everything, in New York and Hawaii. And when that bubble burst, you realize, man, you need maintenance. Even though the profit margin is not huge in maintenance, it's steady income and it's cash flow. And, you're in college and you learn about the economy and all these things, but cash flow is just a word until it's a business. And then it's really important,
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's the kind of things we've been working on and doing. Like I said, it's a different world now, with the rules and regulations and things that have kind of changed all of construction. It's tough. It's a lot tougher.
Interesting. What has made it more difficult? The rules and regulations. What are some examples of some of those that kind of affect?
Well, we've always wanted to be super safe with people on the job and all those things, but especially in Hawaii, they require the tax burden here is super high. You have to have full medical coverage for all of your workers. Most states don't require that. I wish they all did, because it would make ours less. The cost would be less. But I think any worker that's working deserves, if they get sick or hurt, to be able to go to the doctor,
Sure.
So I'm not against it, but it is very high cost. And then Hawaii, being sort of isolated, it's not as easy to get plant material. We have our own nursery. If we didn't have our own nursery and grow our own product, we'd really be in trouble, because a lot of the nurseries have shut down. They're small here. They're not like, I'll go to the California or whatever, and I see these giant nurseries and I salivate. But the land is a lot cheaper, you know. The land
Right.
here is so expensive and the nurseries are small. And then a lot of the kids and grandkids don't want to do that, just like farming, ranching, you know, kids are getting out of all that and you still need it. So that's a real challenge right now is plant material. And then the fact that a lot of, like we talked about earlier, a lot of young people are looking for jobs in an air conditioned office, you know, not
Oh,
always
right.
not always in the trades, which I think our education system should encourage that more, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you have, I mean, you have 42 people on your team now, huh?
We do. Yes, we have 42. I would like to have 10 or 15 more, but it's just very difficult to find them. So we're turning down a lot of work. It kills me as a business, you know, to turn down work, but you know, if you can't do it in the time they need it, we just can't do it.
Sure.
But what happens is a lot of times we'll tell them that, and then they'll call back a couple of weeks later and say, "We still want you because no, we can't find anyone else good that can
Uh-huh.
start in our time frame." So it's helpful, yeah. And I'm
Interesting.
fortunate that I've got a lot of my guys have been with me 30, 35 years. So I've got people that have stuck with me a long, long time. And I don't care what business you're in, you're only as good as your people. You know, you need the leadership, but you're only as good as your weakest link. I always tell all my guys that.
Wow.
Yeah.
What have you done to keep teams so long? I mean, retention in the trades is tricky, and folks, you know, get a different offer and they want to leave. What's your secret?
Well, for us, I mean, we've tried to be really fair with the employees, you know. I mean, when they need something, we care about their families. I mean, I'm an older guy, I'm kind of old school, you know, like you read about guys like Henry Ford would walk the assembly line and he knew the guys' names and he knew how's your wife and kids. And so we've tried to kind of keep that kind of style going where, you know, I think people know we care about them and we do. If they get into a situation, we try to help them. I think that's been helpful. We do incentive things to, you know, give them bonuses and even hiring. That's, you know, our best hires have come from friends or family of people already working for us. And it's kind of the same thing even in our jobs now. Like we haven't really never advertised other than the name on our truck. And most people aren't going to go for a big advertisement in the newspaper or the phone book or Google. Even when they're looking at spending a chunk of money, they want a recommendation from one of their friends or associates. So we've just tried to always do the best job we humanly can, and that's worked out well for us. So
Yeah, I can see that. I see that you guys have won some amazing awards. Finalists at Hawaii Home and Remodeling Magazine 2025 Reader's Choice landscape maintenance category. It sounds like you've won a few of those. Have you have those happened just totally organically, or do you kind of throw your name in the hat for kind of the awards like that?
no, they come organically. We've never really, you know, I've never really aspired. My thing is just taking care of my customers and my employees. And I always tell, like, my oldest son he's working for me and he'll end up taking all this over fairly soon. I think I'll be in the background, but I'll still be here. But I've tried to get them to all of them to understand, hey, you know what, just take care of your employees and employees and your customers and things will work out. And they always have, you know, even in the darkest days, we've always survived. So I think, you know, it's worked for me. So I'm my young guys always think I'm the old guy and old ideas, but sometimes those old ideas they work, you know.
Yeah, right. So you guys are like proactive leaders in combating some like invasive species like little fire ants, coconut rhinoceros beetles.
Yeah,
Um,
we're having a lot of trouble with that. The worst thing in Hawaii right now is the coconut rhinoceros beetle. They are just devastating the palms in Hawaii. And, you know, palms are synonymous with Hawaii. That's what people think when you look at the visitor bureau and all the advertisements of swaying palms. And diamond head and all, and it's a real problem right now. Unfortunately, there's no natural enemy for them here. So we've been working with several of the key arborists that we know, trying to come up with our own remedies for them. And we found some fairly good things, but we've been experimenting for about 3 years on our own. But it's a real problem. Yeah, it is. And, Hawaii, again, being isolated, when anything comes in here, there's usually not a natural predator for it. So that's a scary thing.
Huh.
But yeah, we're trying our best.
So, like, you guys never import plants from off island? I mean, it may be too expensive as well.
We never have, and you can't. Hawaii is very strict. You cannot bring any plants from the mainland. You can bring little starters in synthetic soil, but for decades they have not ever allowed plant material to be brought in. And that's, again, one of the things. If I'm doing a job in Nevada and I can't find a palm or a plant or plant material I want, I can have it just trucked from California. Where Hawaii, you don't have that luxury. You can get things from the neighbor islands, but not from the mainland or overseas, unless it's just a little starter, which, hard to put a palm in that's this big into somebody's yard.
Right.
I don't think that's gonna fly.
Yeah. So you talked about that you guys work with a lot of folks who've got, second, third homes, maybe, folks from Hollywood. How do you just kind of networked in with those folks, or do you have a way of kind of reaching out to them to build that clientele?
We've kind of networked out. Like I said, it's most people, like the lawyers, all have lawyer friends. The pilots have pilot friends. The Hollywood people have Hollywood friends. So it's almost like you do one of those and then, you kind of network in with them. That's how it's worked for us anyway. And again, if you're my friend and you call me and say, hey, who's a good landscape guy? And I said, hey, use these guys. They're great. They've done my house and several friends. You're generally going to call them. And that's kind of how we've been able to do it over the years. And it's worked. And, we've never, like I said, we've never advertised per se or anything. So it's been a good thing.
Wow. You have a lot of family that works kind of in leadership roles and on the team, huh?
Right. I've got several guys that their brothers and their sons work for us. So, it kind of makes me feel like I got to keep everything going, because when you've got the father and the son and the brother and probably a grandchild pretty soon, you feel obligated to kind of keep it rolling, keep those wheels turning. So yeah, that's where I'm kind of at right now. But I'm getting older, so I realize the young guys, there's some good things that they bring to the table. I mean, I didn't even have a website, and when my son came in, he goes, Dad, you got to have a website. I'm like, what's that?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, then we did that, and then honestly, you ended up getting a lot of work off of that, because a lot of the people that are buying a house, but we'll get a call from New York, say, and they're buying a house in Kailua or Portlock or something, and it's off of that website too. So, I mean, I give him all the credit. That was a good move to start a website.
Yeah, that's great. Well, fantastic, Greg. What a great business. If folks are on Oahu or one of the other islands nearby and looking to, for an amazing landscaper, kind of hardscaper, or if they're looking for, especially sounds like if they're looking for a great team to be on, what are some of the best ways to get in touch with you guys?
Well, best is to get us at our office. Our phone number, 808-261-7517, or they can get us on our email at Pua Lani Landscape at AOL.com. Old, so I'm old, it's AOL.
That's great. Fantastic. Yeah, so if you're looking for a great landscape company to work with, give Greg and his team a ring at 808-261-7517 or email at pualanilandscape@aol.com. They also have a website at pualanilandscape.com. Fantastic. Well, Greg, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing a bunch of great wisdom with us.
All right, Mark. Thanks again for having me, and you have a great day.